Under the golden lights of old Hollywood, beauty was everything, a currency, a crown, and a curse. These women, once worshipped like goddesses, walked through a world where the camera adored them but the industry devoured them. Behind every perfect smile was a secret pain. Behind every glittering gown, a quiet struggle to stay relevant in a world that only cherished youth and perfection. This is not just a story of fading faces, but of the silent battles no one saw, illnesses, betrayals, isolation, and choices that cost everything. These are the final acts of legends, not remembered for how they fell, but for how they endured. Now, let us turn the reel back to see what truly happened when the most beautiful women of Hollywood began to disappear. Audrey Hepburn, the face of eternal elegance, with doe-like eyes and a swan neck that captured every gaze. Behind that graceful image, however, was a frail body ravaged by a rare abdominal cancer. In her final months, the slender frame that once defined a beauty standard had withered. Her high cheekbones became hollow, her wide eyes sunken. Yet she walked the dusty grounds of Somalia, under the harsh sun, with nothing but a simple scarf. She never abandoned the children who needed her. For Audrey, true beauty was compassion. Few knew that in her last days, she declined all media invitations, choosing instead to spend quiet time with her son and her humanitarian work. That silence wasn't an ending. It was the peak of a beauty that no longer needed a face to shine. She passed away in Switzerland, in the arms of her family, without scandal, without noise, leaving behind a legacy of kindness. Grace Kelly once made the world gasp with her flawless presence, not with sultry curves, but with the pristine grace of a princess stepped out of a fairy tale. And ironically, she did become the Princess of Monaco. But life isn't a fairy tale. A sudden stroke struck as she drove with her daughter. The car veered off a cliff. It was said that had she survived, her face would have been irreparably damaged. But fate chose to preserve her public image at the cost of her life. No images of her post-accident were ever released. In the public memory, Grace Kelly remains as she was in To Catch a Thief. Yet her daughter, Princess Caroline, once said, "I would trade all that beauty for just one more day with my mother." Her death shook Monaco. Funeral images kept hidden, as if to protect the crown of beauty she once wore. Looking back, one might wonder, was her beauty too perfect for fate to forgive? Susan Peters, MGM's hopeful starlet, once adored for her delicate purity, until a tragic hunting accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. From then on, Susan could no longer walk. Her frame withered, her skin turned pale, her smile forced. Still, she returned to the screen, acting from a wheelchair. But the audience no longer admired. They pitied. And for someone once loved for her beauty, that pity was its own kind of cruelty. In her final days, she lived in a small home, far from Hollywood, the very place that once lifted and abandoned her. She passed away at just 31 from malnutrition and kidney failure. Before her death, Susan once wrote in her diary, "I was once a flower, and now I only hope someone still remembers its scent." Could you stand before the camera when your body no longer reflects who you were? Linda Darnell, at the height of 1940s cinema, was hailed as the girl with the perfect face, a natural beauty untouched by heavy makeup. But as age crept in and roles thinned, Darnell fell into depression and alcohol. One fateful night, while staying at a friend's home, a fire erupted. She saved a child but suffered severe burns across her entire body. The woman once dubbed a silver screen goddess died in agony at 41. Her death came just as her beauty was engulfed in flames, as though fate consumed the image it once exalted. Not long before, she had planned a comeback, hoping to reclaim her stardom. That chance never came. Old friends attended her funeral, many unable to hold back tears as they looked at her portrait, a face once perfect, now only a scorched memory. Beauty, once a weapon, became the easiest thing to burn. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Judy Garland was destroyed from the start. At 13, handpicked by MGM, Judy became Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. But they told her she wasn't pretty enough. They forced her on a diet of chicken soup, coffee, and weight loss pills. Amphetamines to keep her awake, barbiturates to make her sleep. From a young age, Judy learned that beauty had to be chemically controlled, and that became her destiny. Her face changed with each cycle of pills. When she died at 47, she looked 20 years older. People often ask, what killed Judy Garland? The answer might be Hollywood, but deeper still, Judy didn't just lose her looks. She lost her childhood, her dreams, and eventually, herself. Songs like Somewhere Over the Rainbow once lifted her, but became lullabies for the loneliness that never left her. In her final years, she still performed, still forced a smile on stage. But backstage, she was a trembling woman who gripped the chair just to keep from falling. Perhaps sometimes, what kills a person isn't time, but expectation. Gloria Graham, the sultry film noir siren, famous for her whispery voice and smoldering gaze, was once a screen goddess in films like The Big Heat and Oklahoma. But obsessed with her appearance, particularly her upper lip, she began injecting paraffin wax in hopes of making it fuller. At first it worked, but over time, the wax hardened, forming lumps that distorted her once iconic features. Despite undergoing corrective surgeries, the damage was irreversible. Her smile became uneven, her expressions limited. Directors tried to hide it with clever camera angles, but her decline was visible. She retreated from Hollywood, finding solace in theater. In her final years, she performed in small plays in the UK, battling cancer in secret. She passed away in 1981, far from the spotlight. Her once glamorous image long faded. Beauty, once her trademark, had become her quiet undoing. Hedy Lamarr, often called the most beautiful woman in the world, stunned audiences with her porcelain skin and perfect symmetry. But behind the surface, she was a brilliant mind, co-inventor of a frequency-hopping technology that would later help develop Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Still, Hollywood never valued her intellect, only her looks. As she aged, desperate to maintain her image, she underwent numerous experimental procedures. One of the worst involved injecting liquid silicone into her cheeks and lips. The result was tragic: disfigurement, stiffness, and a mask-like appearance. By the 1970s, she became a recluse, rarely seen in public. Her final years were marked by shoplifting arrests and bitter loneliness. Hedy died in 2000, her scientific genius only truly acknowledged after her death. Until the end, the world remembered her face, but not her mind. And that, perhaps, was the cruelest twist of all. Veronica Lake, once known for her iconic peekaboo hairstyle, became a sensual symbol of the 1940s. Her unusual beauty, mysterious eyes, and cold allure brought her to stardom in films like This Gun for Hire and The Blue Dahlia. But after personal upheavals and a battle with schizophrenia, her allure slowly faded. Misdiagnosed and untreated, She lost control. Her glow vanished, and alcohol and depression changed her figure. In 1962, she was found working at a bar for minimum wage, unrecognizable to those who once adored her. When she died in 1973 at age 50 from liver and kidney failure, she had only $400 to her name. Living in cheap rented apartments, she occasionally wrote or did radio work to get by. One of the most unique faces in Hollywood faded away quietly. No lights, no applause, just black and white memories on a flickering screen. Marie Prévost, a shining star of the 1920s, known for her dazzling smile and curvy charm. She embodied the flapper spirit in films like The Marriage Circle. But the death of her mother in a car crash sent her into deep depression. She turned to alcohol and experienced drastic weight gain. In the cruel world of Hollywood, beauty fades faster than relevance. She was swiftly discarded. Reduced to minor roles, she disappeared from the screen entirely. In 1937, she was found dead in her small apartment. Malnourished and ravaged by alcoholism, her body had gone unnoticed for days. Even worse, tabloids mocked her death with fabricated, dehumanizing stories. Her quiet, lonely passing revealed a brutal truth. In Hollywood, once beauty fades, even dignity can be denied. Mae Murray, a silent film queen once nicknamed the girl with the bee-stung lips for her sensual looks and dramatic flair. During her peak, she dazzled in flowing gowns and golden curls, but the arrival of sound cinema left her behind. After a failed marriage to a fake prince and legal disputes with major studios, she was blacklisted. In her final years, she wandered LA in outdated costumes and heavy makeup, still believing she was a star. One passerby recalled her cheerfully saying, "I'm Mae Murray, queen of the silver screen," but no one recognized her. In 1965, she was found disoriented and homeless. She died forgotten, penniless, her legacy reduced to fading echoes from a lost cinematic era. Lupe Vélez, famously dubbed the Mexican Spitfire, was a Latin icon in 1930s cinema. Bursting with energy, her fiery smile and charm captivated audiences. But tumultuous relationships, from Gary Cooper to Tarzan actor Johnny Weissmuller, left her emotionally drained. Pregnant by a younger actor who refused to marry her, Lupe saw no escape. She prepared for her death as if filming her final scene. Silk gown, candles lit, a farewell letter, and sleeping pills. But instead of being remembered with beauty and grace, tabloids spread a grotesque, false rumor that she died falling into a toilet. That fabricated narrative eclipsed her truth. She once dreamed of a funeral as cinematic as her life, but was instead reduced to a cruel punchline. Her beauty wasn't lost to age. It was murdered by myth. Barbara Payton, with platinum blonde hair and wild allure, she was once poised to follow in the footsteps of Monroe or Turner, but a scandalous love triangle with Tom Neal and Franchot Tone led to a violent brawl and destroyed her career. From box office queen to tabloid target, Barbara spiraled into alcoholism, living in cheap motels as her beauty disintegrated. In 1963, she published a memoir titled I Am Not Ashamed, a last attempt to reclaim her story. When she died in 1967 of liver failure at age 39, she was only a shadow of her former self. They say some deaths slam the door shut, but Barbara's felt like a theater plunged into darkness, with no applause for the final act. Support us with a like and a subscription, so you won't miss the next stories. Frances Farmer, one of Hollywood's most intelligent and striking women in the 1930s, praised not only for her looks but her electrifying performances. Frances refused to play the industry's puppet. She declined staged photo shoots, avoided press charades, and demanded creative control. This defiance earned her the label difficult. After a series of public incidents and a controversial mental health diagnosis, she was institutionalized without legal defense. There, she endured electroshock, injections, and rumors of forced sterilization. By the time she was released, her once blazing eyes had dimmed. Frances attempted to return to the stage, but the old spotlight never found her again. She died in 1970, carrying the bitter truth. Not all who lose beauty do so to time. Some lose everything simply because they dared to say no to power. Jocelyn Wildenstein, dubbed Catwoman by tabloids, became a global cautionary tale of surgical excess. Though not a Golden Age star, her story mirrored their descent, only in fast forward. Once a glamorous New York socialite, Jocelyn began undergoing extreme facial surgeries in an attempt to preserve her youth and please her billionaire husband. Eye lifts, cheek implants, skin tightening, lip enhancements. The procedures became endless. Over time, her face transformed into something unrecognizable. Wide eyes, inflated cheeks, exaggerated lips. The press devoured her appearance, mocking her as a plastic monster. Her fortune dwindled with her divorce, and public sympathy eroded. By trying to stop time, she became its most visible victim. A living sculpture of regret, sculpted not by nature, but by desperation. Linda Evans, the blonde goddess of 1980s soap opera Dynasty, captivated millions with her statuesque elegance. But behind the screen, Linda was haunted by insecurity about aging in Hollywood. Determined to preserve her looks, she underwent multiple facelifts and cosmetic procedures. At first subtle, then increasingly visible, the surgeries altered her face's softness. Fans noticed her changed appearance, and casting directors quietly stepped back. She later admitted to regretting some of the choices, calling beauty a prison she willingly walked into. Though she remained gracious and open about her journey, the once golden girl of primetime TV faced the truth shared by many before her. In a world obsessed with youth, aging gracefully often means disappearing entirely. Patricia Neal. She may not have possessed conventional beauty, but her strong, intelligent, and deeply expressive presence made it impossible to look away. She won an Academy Award for her role in HUD and left a lasting impression in The Day the Earth Stood Still. But in 1965, while pregnant with her fifth child, Patricia suffered a massive stroke and fell into a coma for 3 weeks. When she awoke, she was paralyzed on one side, had lost the ability to speak, and could no longer control her facial expressions. She had to relearn how to walk, talk, and even smile. And although her recovery was remarkable, her once commanding appearance now bore visible asymmetries, living proof of trauma. She returned to the screen in The Subject Was Roses, earning another Oscar nomination. But from that point, her career gradually faded. The lines on her face, the weight in her gaze, they no longer symbolized beauty, but survival. She not only overcame illness, but became a powerful figure of hope and resilience for the stroke survivor community, actively participating in campaigns to raise awareness and inspire others on the path to recovery. Rita Hayworth, once hailed as the love goddess of the silver screen, with her legendary red hair and unforgettable striptease in Gilda that mesmerized the world. But after a string of failed marriages and relentless pressure from Hollywood, Rita began showing signs of memory loss. For years, colleagues assumed she was simply drunk, but the heartbreaking truth was Alzheimer's disease. The illness progressed rapidly, leaving Rita unable to remember her lines, recognize friends, or even maintain her once glowing expression. Her famous face slowly lost its spark. Her eyes grew distant. Her daughter, Yasmin Khan, became her full-time caretaker, and Rita herself became the reason for launching Hollywood's first Alzheimer's research fundraiser. She died in 1987 in quiet obscurity, no longer recognizing herself, no longer recalling the radiance she once embodied. When beauty left her, so did her memories. The final photos that remain show a quiet woman, no longer aware of the luminous past she once carried within her. Dorothy Dandridge, the first African-American woman ever nominated for a Best Actress Oscar for her stunning performance in Carmen Jones. With flawless beauty, regal poise, and a captivating voice, she shattered racial barriers that once seemed immovable. But the white-dominated Hollywood of her time gave her only a fleeting moment of recognition, then pushed her to the sidelines. Roles dried up, and with a disabled daughter to care for and a manager who betrayed her trust, Dorothy fell into despair. She turned to alcohol, struggled with insomnia, and began relying on tranquilizers to get through each day. When she was found dead in her small apartment from a drug overdose, she was just 42 years old. The beauty that once elevated her to greatness could not shield her from loneliness, discrimination, and the slamming of countless doors. Even in death, Hollywood never truly acknowledged what it had taken from her. A woman whose radiance was stifled by the very prejudices she fought to transcend. Vivien Leigh, the legend of Gone with the Wind, with dreamy eyes and porcelain skin. But behind the iconic role of Scarlett O'Hara was a woman fighting bipolar disorder all her life. During manic episodes, she radiated vitality. But when depression struck, she couldn't sleep, lost weight, her face became hollow, and her spirit crumbled. Tuberculosis further weakened her body, leaving visible traces on what was once a flawless visage. In a 1967 performance, she collapsed backstage and never stood again. Her brilliance wasn't extinguished all at once. It faded slowly, with every ache and silent sorrow. And perhaps the cruelest part, she was never truly healed, not in body, nor in soul. Her final diary entries revealed the torment between a desperate longing to be loved and a loneliness so deep that even her heart no longer recognized the body that was once adored by millions. Dolores Hart, the girl who kissed Elvis, with clear eyes and an angelic smile, was once poised to become one of Hollywood's brightest stars. But at the height of her fame, she made an unexpected choice. She left it all to become a Benedictine nun. Her beauty wasn't destroyed by age or accidents, but by her own decision. She walked away from the lights to find something sacred within. Gone were the lipstick and styled curls, replaced by quiet eyes beneath a simple veil. To many, she vanished in mystery, but to Dolores, it was rebirth. And in the silence of her abbey, she lived the rest of her life with a different kind of beauty, one rooted in the soul, beyond the glamour of the silver screen. In the end, what remains of these women is not just faded beauty or tragic headlines, but a mirror reflecting the values we hold dear. They were not just stars. They were daughters, mothers, dreamers, each carrying the weight of a perfection they never asked for. Hollywood placed crowns of stardust on their heads, but demanded their souls in return. And when the shine dimmed, it turned its back on them. In the flicker of an old film reel, in the stillness of a fading photograph, they continue to whisper, "I was more than beauty. I was human." If this touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help us honor the forgotten legends of Hollywood's golden age.